What's going on, guys? Welcome into episode number 11 of the Ask Tony Show. Thank you so much for joining me today. It's our first show of February, so we're super excited. January was awesome. We pumped out a ton of content. Thank you guys for your questions. So let's get started.
What advice do you have for new leaders?
So if you're a new leader, it's kind of an awkward position to be in, especially if you've never done it before, because now you're kind of over people, and I feel like it's kind of a dangerous slope. So you have to be very careful with how you approach being a new leader. You basically have two paths. You can either take the path of trying to be like a boss, like an authoritative figure, somebody to be feared, somebody to be obeyed, or you can take the other route, which in my opinion is the correct route, which is just try to serve people. So something that I've learned being a broker is that my agents have a lot of options. So they could go to any brokerage, they're all licensed, they're all smart, they're all competent. They could go to any brokerage that they wanted to. So the fact that they're at my brokerage really puts the onus on myself to serve them and to be there for them. So a lot of leaders or brokers kind of take it as my agents work for me and they have to do what I tell them and they just kind of have to follow my orders, versus what I've learned from a lot of my mentors is really I work for my agents, and everything that I do is trying to help them improve, trying to help them be better, trying to give them tools, give them resources so that they can be better. Because if they're better, obviously that is good for us and that's good for me. So it's kind of a weird paradox, because in being selfish, if you want to look at it that way, if I take it from a selfish perspective, I want them to be good because I want my brokerage to grow, right? So in order to do that, I have to flip the switch and I have to be as unselfish as I possibly can to give them the tools, the resources, the information, the training, so that they can be the best that they can be and they can actually be productive. Now, at the same time, there has to be a balance, right? So there has to be kind of a fundamental basis of respect, of credibility and accountability, so that they take you seriously and they listen to you. But at the same time, they're not your slaves. They're not, there to cater to whatever you want. So you have to be a good person. And you really, one of the things that has helped me a lot is really try to get to know my agents, know what motivates them, what they enjoy, what they don't enjoy, what they're trying to accomplish, and really try to at a deep level, try to help them get over their fears, get over their insecurities, so that they can actually make things happen. For example, I just had a conversation with one of my agents yesterday, and she was telling me that she wanted to start to be more aggressive on social media. But she was saying, well, I don't really use social media. I don't use Facebook. She's kind of an older lady. So she's like, I don't use this stuff. I never have, but I want to do it. I'm kind of scared because I don't know if it's going to be good. And so I've just really tried to help her understand and get over some of those insecurities so that she can do it, because I know that if she does it, then she'll have more business, and in a way that selfishly helps me, if you will. So it's kind of this weird paradox where you kind of have to play it both sides. But at the end of the day, your agents do not work for you, you work for them, because they have options and they can go somewhere else. So humility is super important, service is super important, and just keeping your ego in check, because leadership is something that you may be a leader today, but it can go away at any moment. So don't take it for granted, just try to serve people.
What do you look for in agents you hire?
So attitude is a big thing for me. When I talk to agents who want to join our brokerage, attitude is probably one of the biggest things. And I'm not a huge fan of traditional interviews, because we all put on our best face when we go to a job interview, right? And we dress the best that we can, and we kind of try to put the best foot forward or the best facade as to who we are, so that we can get hired. So when I have interviews with agents that want to work in our office, I just try to have a very open, honest conversation, get to know about their families, their hobbies, what they like to do, a little bit about their background, and not so much on if they have a lot of experience or not, because traditionally what I found is you can be an agent that has a ton of experience, but if you have the wrong attitude, you don't have a growth mindset, it doesn't matter. Like whatever experience you have it's not gonna work. Versus I've had really brand new agents that don't know anything and their attitude is so good and they come in, they're humble, they're hungry, they wanna work, and they actually end up succeeding a lot better than the agent who thought he was a big shot and he really wasn't, if that makes sense. So attitude is a huge thing for me. And again, I just like to get to know people, know what they're into, what they're not into, try to find some common ground. There are a lot of agents in my office that are big football fans, so that's something that we can talk about. But yeah, it's attitude, 100% attitude. If you have the right attitude, you'll go far. And if you don't, it doesn't matter what you've accomplished, you're gonna lose.
Do you prefer to be around people the same as you or different than you?
I like both, and I didn't used to, because the majority of people don't like being around people that don't agree with them. And I feel like that's a huge issue in today's society, is we have a big problem with people that think differently than we do. And we have a huge problem with simply letting people be and letting people have their opinions or have their viewpoints, and being in a place where I can disagree with you and we can still be okay, if you will. That seems more and more rare as time goes on. So the majority of people kind of look for their bubble of people that are the same as them, and any outsiders or any outside ideas or influences, they don't really tolerate very well. What I've learned is I actually learn a lot from people that are different. I like to listen, I like to observe, and a lot of times I'll have a lot of conversations with people about topics. For example, I just had a conversation with someone about politics. Now, this is not a political show, but just as an example, we were talking about Republicans and Democrats and the whole impeachment stuff, and he's a Republican, and so I was really kind of acting like a reporter, just asking him questions because I wanted to get his feedback. And I've done the same thing with my friends who are avid Democrats, trying to get their perspective. So I feel like I learn from people who are different than me, more so than people that are the same. But that takes humility, that takes the ability to understand the other side. It takes also being able to be calm when somebody is disagreeing with you. So it's really hard to do, but if you can manage to surround yourself with people that are different, but that are smart, that are healthy, that aren't necessarily attacking you, but they're different, and you can tolerate that and listen to other viewpoints, then you'll learn and you'll grow much more than if you just stay in your little bubble of people that just happen to feel and think the same way that you do.
Is it okay to curate content versus creating new content all the time?
I think you should, because it's really hard to create original content all the time. And that's kind of a mouse trap that a lot of content creators or people that want to start making content get into. And I feel like it's one of the reasons why they don't start, because they always want to create something 100% new. And the reality is, whatever idea you have, it's probably already been done in one capacity or another. You may be able to put a little spin on it or your own kind of touch or flavor, but most things have already been done, guys. So you're not always going to have something that's 1000% unique to you and has never been done before. That's probably not going to happen. So you're going to have to, take ideas. I'm not a big fan of necessarily copying word for word or, plagiarism. Don't plagiarize. But take ideas, take inspiration, and try to create something that is yours. When you talk about curated content, if you don't know what curated content is where you just share somebody else's original content. So for example, I can put out this show and it's original content because it's me, it's my show, it's my opinions. But then I can go to another agent's Q&A show, and if they have good content, I can share that to my audience, and that's curated content. It's content that did not come from me, but that I think is valuable. I do this all the time with articles. I do book reviews. Book reviews is curated content. I didn't write the book, but I'm sharing it with you guys because I find it valuable. So you have to have a good mix of both, because again, you're not the know-all be-all. There are people that are smarter than you. There are people that are smarter than me, and that can provide a lot of value. And it's not all about you at the end of the day. So if you're always trying to just create something perfectly unique, you're gonna fail.
How important is failure?
Failure, that's tough because it depends on your mindset. And you can't go to both extremes. Like you can't be DJ Khaled that never takes an L, but then you can't be on the other side that, you know, the losses kind of devastate you. You have to play in the middle. Failure is important if you have the ability to contextualize it and learn from it. There are a lot of people that they try to play it safe because they don't want to fail, so they kind of stay in their little cocoon. And before, I used to always criticize that because I would say you're not going to grow if you're always trying to be safe, you don't want to make mistakes, you don't want to get out there and put yourself out there. But then I've learned through experiences that some people just can't handle it. So there are folks who are happy in their little cocoon because they don't want to fail, they're insecure, and they rather be there and they're happy there, and that's perfectly fine. But the moment that you step out, you're probably going to make mistakes. I know that I make mistakes all the time in our real estate office. We've had situations where, you know, deals don't go through, clients back out, things that you don't control go wrong, and it can get frustrating, but you learn from all those failures. And I was actually just talking to our board about that today, that, you know, you have to take every experience, good or bad, and you have to learn from it. And it's such a cliche because we always say that. We always say, oh, learn from your failures. Oh, you know, something happens, learn the lesson, but we don't do it. So the way that I've learned to do it is, number one, you have to take the emotion out of the situation. Whatever happened, and you got to let it go. Number one, take the emotion out of it. After you take the emotion out of it, you have to analyze what happened and why. And once you understand in an objective manner, and it has to be objective, what happened, why did it happen, and how can you avoid it from happening in the future, that's where real growth is. But again, a lot of people just either they don't want to or they're not able to go through that process. So if that's you and you're in your little safe cocoon, you know, I don't judge. If you're good there, stay there. But if you come out, you're going to fail and you're going to have to learn.